Right. That's the that was so seen it. I'm I'll wait till people come in. If you're from the live if you're from the last live stream, can you go post this link in the old chat so people know to come over? I would hate for them to. The old chat's gone. Well, that's just it's okay. Seems people are finding their way. Yeah, yeah. That was what happened. There was just the electrics just shorted. It does that occasionally, you know. I think it was it was. I think I got probably over 30 people in the live stream. I got. Have you got emp? I don't know what that means. And please, like the smash button. Oh, Mimi Beardsley, would you eat my ass, Mimi Beardsley? Have you done this before? Yep. So on a side note, completely unrelated to anything, it's yeah. Am I staying up for the new year? Nick, oh Nick, by the way, I got your message. I've been meaning to contact you. It's not that. Right, again, I'm. Could you send me on Facebook your address? I actually had to redo your the picture you wanted to, because the first one I wasn't happy with the first one, and since since I mean when I started doing that, I was doing color, doing bits in color was new to me. I've got a lot better at it since, and so I and so I redid it, and so I have yeah. Well, it's only an A4 sheet of paper, mate. With all due, I mean, it depends on, obviously it depends entirely on how much damage. Um, I mean, if you want, I'll happily, because it's taken a while. I will happily, I'll do you a bigger version. If you give me, if you don't mind giving me, a couple of weeks, I will happily do a version, an A3 or an A2 version of it, because I've done that for some. There's a couple of people who I took far too long to do what they ordered, and small is fine. That's what she said. Do I draw inspiration? No. Okay, first of all, this is not red mohawk. This is a pink mohawk. It was red, but now it's pink. And no, I don't. I'm not inspired by haircuts. Hair is. I mean, I don't give a shit about my hair. I don't give a toss whether I've got it or not. But ever since I sort of stopped working, full time, ever since I started doing YouTube full time, I have, boredom will just, I'll be like, fuck it, I'll bleach my hair. And plus, I'm 41 years old now. I don't know how much longer I might have hair to fuck around with. So I thought, So that's why I you know do the and I've had a blonde mohawk. I've had my natural hair color. I've had a blonde mohawk, a black mohawk, a red mohawk, a cyan and magenta mohawk, a pink mohawk, a green mohawk, and a black and red one for a time. So that's 9. So I've had 9 colors after. I'm running out of options. I think after this I'll go for orange. It does. I think for considering I did it myself, and let's be honest, dye your beard. No, I remember when Harley from Epic Mealtime bleached his beard, and I can't stand. I mean, the smell of peroxide and just makes me want to be. It's the one thing that I don't look forward to whenever I re-dye my hair, and I cannot imagine putting that shit on my face. I mean, maybe I would do it if and plus also my beard isn't really that big. If tell you what, if my beard, if my beard gets to a point, like the last, if it goes to the point like the biggest it's ever got, which was I think 2016, when it was like literally down to here, and it was quite, it was a thing of beauty. Maybe at that point I'll go like, you know what, fuck it. I think it'd be. I'll bleak. I'll put, because then I can at least put bleak. I can put some peroxide in and dye in it, and maybe not be violently sick. You know. But I just remember when Harley from Epic Mealtime did that, because his facial hair grows at a rate, at a rate of knots. Like he's one of. It's like Santa Claus, beard growth. It's ridiculous. And I just remember when the roots started, and it just looks so weird. A guy having having dark roots on a blonde beard. Yeah, but a glitter beard, that's just, that's that's easy, and B, glitter is one of the most. I mean, glitter is borderline fucking. If you put if you get glitter on anything, that's it's like if you've ever fucked on the beach, and and 6 months later you're still finding sand. It's that kind of glitters like that. It doesn't matter, any amount of glitter spilled anywhere. If you get glitter on you, that's it. For like, it's going to take a good couple of years before that thing. You know, I mean, the most impressive beard I've seen was it was just a photo someone posted on my Facebook once, and it was a guy whose beard, he'd had his beard fashioned into a bird cage that encased his head. It was like that, and I thought that is cool. It's. I mean, you wouldn't want to go out for a night looking like that. I mean, that would be a nightmare. But that's quite. That is a level of dedication and imagination and skill that But but yeah. So I might actually. You know what? That's going to be my okay. I'm picking an easy. I was looking for a 10th New Year's resolution. I'm not shaving for the whole year. With sorry, caveat. I'm not shaving apart from the hair on my upper lip. I'll trim that, right? And or unless I get beard cancer, or something, or I'm in a fire and it happens to it gets burned off. Other than that, apart from I'm not going to voluntarily, out of sheer vanity or convenience, shave my beard off. You know, it's gonna be. I'm getting it back to its former glory. In fact, I think all men, particularly if you're a guy who claims to be, a right on and a bit and woke, right? Particularly if you're a male feminist, you should grow a massive beard at least once, because, right? And this is genuine. I'm not joking. This is not me taking the piss. The closest having a huge beard, like I mean a huge beard, like having a huge beard and walking around in public is the closest a man can ever get to fully appreciating what it's like to be a woman with big tits. You know, if you want to know if you want to experience this, a little bit, if you want to get the closest you can get to knowing what it feels like to be a woman with, an attractive woman with big knockers walking down the street, or, and how people, react and respond to you, then grow a massive beard, because that is, you'll get to a point where you realize you're not a human being anymore. You're a fucking support system for a massive beard, right? That is all people. You'll get people shout things at you across the street. People will comment on it as you walk past them. People think a lot of people feel that they have some innate right to touch it or grab it, or physically interact with it without asking you, and against your whether you know them or not. I was going to Manchester to do a gig, and on the train journey up there, whilst I was at King's Cross Station, there was a guy there who was on the escalator. He was on the as I'm going up the station, and he was a couple of steps above me. And as he looked back, and he had a big beard too. And as he looked round and saw me, and sort of just like grabbed his beard and went. And I thought, and I felt like I was like, is this some sort of like secret code? Have I entered does he think I'm a member of a cult or something? Or have I joined some secret society that, and now I'm, and he and I sat on the train for an hour and a half before he got off. And we had we just had never met before in our lives. He and I sat there for nearly 2 hours at the station and on the train, having this, just chatting to each other. And all we had, the only thing, and if I had not had a beard, we would never have interacted. I've had people, it's like that. But that's what it is. Now, some people, might, it might not bother. But what I'm saying is, you'll get an impression. There's a lot of, there are a lot of moments where you're just like, I wish people would, I get it. I've got a big beard, right? Fucking, just I'm not a piece of meat. My eyes are up here, right? I'm a human being. Your mum won't let you grow a beard. Like, dude, you really need some self-assertion therapy. Which is my polite way of saying you need beating around the head with a stick. Right? Do you know what? Is your mum the sort of woman who would like tie you down and forcibly shave you against your will? Because if she isn't, then just fucking grow your beard. And if she doesn't, so what are you going to do? And if your mum is the kind of woman who would forcibly tie you down and remove your beard against your will, then can I have a phone number? Your mum's a little crazy. Yeah, but I mean, that's you telling me that, mate. I mean, your mum might be perfectly reasonable, but you're the fucking nutter. Yeah. Isn't there something nice about being clean shaven? No. I'll tell you one thing, right? Particularly in this day and age where, it's now almost, default for women to be, waxed and laminated in their bikini lines, is if you've got a massive beard, you don't care anymore, right? I've had so many occasions where, when I had a huge beard, the amount of women I'd go with, and they'd be like, do you like, would you prefer it if I was waxed? And I'm like, darling, look at my face. It doesn't matter. You could have, you could literally laser off your hair and have it fucking and have it vacuum packed and laminated, or you could have, or you could look like you're giving Bob Marley a headlock with your thigh. It wouldn't matter to me. Like, look at my face, right? It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter how many pubic hairs you have or don't have, right? It's gonna feel exactly the same to me, She called your girlfriend to tell her to break up with me. Like, your mum's, dude. Can I recommend one thing that you might want to do? Move out, get out of the fucking house, right? Jesus Christ, my parents don't. You know. I'm so grateful to have the mum and dad that I had, because because they learned very, very quickly with me. Particularly my mother more so. My dad, took a lot longer to get used to this, but they learned eventually. They did learn that there's no point telling me what to do and not to do, because I'm going to do whatever I want. Yeah, I mean, some people like it, some don't. I mean, I happen to my last fiance, she happened to like it. She sort of, she used to sit there and she liked sort of twiddling it while we were, watching television or whatever, or relaxing. Don't even have. I don't care. Actually, move out now. I don't care if you've got anywhere to go. Sleep under a fucking bridge, right? I mean, the only circumstances, if my mum found out that I was dating, that I was dating some like Casey Anthony or some fucking serial killer, or she found out that, or went online and found out that the woman I was dating, she was a member of some sort of like STD, forum, and who like would go out and deliberately fuck people to get them infected. Then that's the only reason. What do you mean? Where's he from? Well, to be fair, that body swap, that was special effects. That wasn't. Sorry to destroy the magic of cinema for you there, but also, I wrote most of that. So anything he said was only said with was something I came. So it was only what I allowed him to say. You're from the EU. Don't be fucking that vague. He's not a bailiff. He's not going to come round and fucking Where are you from? From the EU. Oh, that's only like that narrows it down. It's only one of 28 fucking possible countries. 27 in 4 hours' time. Where are you from? I'm from the Western Hemisphere, my friend, and that's all you need to fucking know. Hungary. Oh, God almighty. You're from a country that fucking Nick Griffin chose to fucking go and live in, but that also, kicked him out. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, the thing is with parents is, I get it, right? There's, your parents. Ideally, your parents should just want you to be happy, but also because they're your parents, they would, much prefer it if if everything you did was, was the safest and the most reliable and normal, that caused you the least amount of fucking, that was the easiest sort of, road of least resistance. I wouldn't want, let me tell you something. Being me is one of the things that has put me off wanting children, because the last thing I want is to have to raise a child who is even half the fucking annoying little prick I was, right? That's the worst option, or the second worst option. The second worst option is that my kid would be the opposite of me. It would be some fucking some virtuous, self-righteous, fucking holier than thou, fucking celibate, teetotal, fucking beige jumper wearing, fucking orthodox Christian prick who who would just look at me, who I would hate on sight, and who would obviously hate me. But I can't blame them, because they've obviously looked at their dad and thought, well, I ain't turning out, I don't want to do whatever he's done in his life. I just want to do the exact opposite. She wanted me to find a Christian girl. Yeah, but if your mum thinks anyone who's not a Christian is so beneath, is morally and ethically that lacking in moral and moral fibre, then why the fuck would they give a shit whether she phones them up and tells them, can you imagine? Let's say your girlfriend was literally like a hardcore, crack smoking, pole dancing Satan worshipper, right? Then her Christian boyfriend, her boyfriend's Christian mum ringing up telling you to break up. I'd be like, fuck you, Not only am I going to not break up with him, but I'm going to get him into pegging, right? I'm going to get him fully, gimped up and fucking take pictures of it. And we're going to do it, and we're going to do I'm going to choreograph a live show, where we're going to reenact, we're going to do a reenactment of the Mr. Hands horse fucking video with him as Mr. Hands and me as the horse, right? And then I'm sending you and I'm going to send you tickets, you stupid bitch, right? If your mum is willing to go to that fucking extent, where she's willing to try and end the relationship you currently have with a girl, then she should at least be willing to try and find you a Christian girl who's a suitable replacement, right? And in fact, you should say that to her, negotiate. Say, look, Mum, I'll make a deal. You find me a Christian girl, who is, who I can hook up with, and if she's, if she's hot enough, right, and if she's at least, if she's got big enough tits and she's hot enough, and not too annoying, then I will split up with my girlfriend and start dating her, right? But just so you know, mother, right, that areas, it's been proven that, religious, young women who are, extremely religious and don't believe in sex before marriage are 75% more likely to take it up the arse. You haven't had sex in 11 years. Dude, don't worry about that, right? If you're, as long as you're living with your mother, right, you'll be like, if that is the best possible outcome, I'm talking, this is Norman Bates shit that she's pulling here. This is how you end up with people like Ed Gein, right? This is what drives, there are countless examples. You look at any nutter who, any sort of bloke, some weirdo, who was just protected who had some smothering mother. They almost always end up, being found out to be like they have, body parts in the fridge. They've been fucking animals for the last 20 years. There's never anything fucking good come from that. What I'm saying is get out of there now, because eventually, she'll probably drive you to the point where you just think fuck it, and then one night you murder her and then turn her skin and bones into a fancy chair. You know? I mean, there was a period of several years where my sort of like my success with women was largely based on the fact that younger women who were like 19, 20, who 18, 19, 20, who had a very, very domineering and religious father, would go to a pub and say, right, who here is going to piss my dad off the most, right? And if I was in the bar, then there's no contest. They would look at me and go, him, right? And I was fine with that. I'm like, as long as I know this, just tell me ahead of time. Just say, like, this relationship is based purely on fucking pissing my dad off. I'm like, great. I'm willing to. Yeah, but I mean, a Christian can sin. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Just because you say you're a Christian doesn't mean you don't do things that are, you don't commit, you don't commit sinful acts. I mean, that's the whole point of Christianity. You're allowed to. Yeah, I mean, I don't do it anymore, because I don't go out as much. But I mean, now, since now I'm 41. If I met a woman who was 19, 20, who was her daddy issues would have to extend to an Electra complex, where it's just she just wants to fuck her dad. Which again, I'm fine with that. I I ain't gonna judge. It doesn't bother me. I don't give a fuck what what people on Twitter are going to say. Oh, there's been so many. I nearly made a video a couple of months ago. I just keep coming across these fucking infuriating tweets by these people who are almost a fucking third of my age, who are obsessed with labeling everything as paedophilia. Like there was like literally like there was one tweet, one tweet especially, which was saying that most female beauty standards in the West are rooted in paedophilia. I'm like, what the fucking hell are you talking about? And then and like literally the replies to this person made me want to join the Proud Boys, because it was things like, yeah, like schoolgirl fantasies, or like or women whacked. I'm like, what the fuck are you lot banging on about? What you're suggesting? Are we really got to a point where a paedophile can be defined as someone who has consensual sex with someone who's an adult? Is that where we are? Yeah. Hey, parents. Hey, listen. I've got full respect for parents. This is why I didn't want to be one. Right? I wouldn't want to be a parent. I think parents put too much. Well said. Exactly. Yeah, but then this is the annoying thing is, people are reluctant to argue against shit like this, because then they think it's going to make them look like they're a nonce. And I'm like, well, you know what? That wouldn't even make the top 10 worst things I've been accused of on the internet. So do you know what? I'll fucking argue it. But what annoys me is virtually every single one of these fuckers, there were like some 18-year-old girl 2 weeks out of high school who's got an OnlyFans account, and she thinks now she understands men, or she understands the complex nature of sexuality. And I'm like, fuck off. You've worked out that hot girls on the internet taking pictures of themselves in their underwear is a great way to earn a living. Good for you, right? Anyone could fucking, that's not really too complicated. But don't sit here and act like you have got some insight into the complex nature of how how fantasies and sexuality actually works, because it's nowhere near as fucking simple, And also, even if that was true, let's say every geezer who's ever and like the schoolgirl uniform thing, it's not women wearing a school uniform that makes it hot. It's hot women wearing school uniforms that is hot, because they're hot women. Because these are women who would look hot wearing anything. Most men would say, if you went to the bedroom with these women and they came out wearing a boiler suit with a parsnip strapped to their forehead, you'd be like, yeah, fuck it, why not? It would be that simple. How much money do I need right now? Whatever you got, darling. You fucking flow my way. I'm actually cool, It's like I've always said, people use the term sexy underwear. There is no such thing as sexy underwear. There is sexy people wearing underwear. Right? I don't care how, I don't care how lacy and beautiful certain lingerie is. If Anne Widdecombe's wearing it, I'm just gonna vomit. What's the best way to Cash App, if you've got it, that's the only way beyond that. Honestly, I'm fine, darling. I mean, I've got I'm fine at the moment. If you want it, but if you insist, then if you download Cash App, then go at it. I mean, I'm never going to say no to offers of money, or you've got Cash App. Well, there you go. #, capital D ICK, capital C OUGHLAN. That's my handle. Simply type that in, and then 100,000 American dollars. The only time, I'll tell you two facts about Anne Widdecombe, right? She several years ago, she publicly admitted that she was a virgin and she had never had sex her entire life. And the second fact is, everyone believed her and went, yeah, I can totally fucking see how that's possible. But yeah, it's your religious beliefs that are the reason. Of course, Doug, yeah. I'm sure it is. It's not the fact you couldn't tempt Quasimodo out of a burning shed, right? It's not the fact that you have all the you have the sex appeal. You look like a bag of pork scratchings super glued to a welder's bench that have got anything to John Merrick would have gone, I think I can do better. She was hot when she was younger. Well, do you know what? I don't care. You know what? Lots of things were more attractive and better fucking 50 years ago, right? Iran used to be a secular democracy. Do you know what? Not anymore, right? I don't know what she did or what happened to her that's caused her to look like a squashed, version of Winston Churchill in drag. Hey, you know what? You know what's interesting about the Elephant Man? He had two parts of his body that were completely normal: his hand and his dick, and it says something, I think, about, you can say, how can God do this to a person? Well, at least he gave him something, I mean, unless he was right-handed, because it was his left hand that. also was quite well off, and you know, and there was that actress, that woman who was that actress who fucking, you know, sort of took advantage of his fame as celebrity. And there is reason to believe that you know, he fucking gave her one, you know. Can we go back to sex talk? I missed it. You know, oh God, it's just sex with you lot these days. I was going to talk about cuddling, and we were going to talk about our feelings. What was the sex talk about? It was about, I think, you know, it's sort of like, you know, I was talking about, you know, just these ridiculous, these you know, monumentally stupid hot takes, or you know, that I've been seeing. There's another one. There's another. I've seen this 3 or 4 times now. I've spoken to several women privately and asked them about this, and now they, you know, and all of them have agreed, have like shared my position on this, but they also happen to be women who are of my sort of generation. So I think this might be a generational thing. But I've seen 3 or 4 times these posts on Twitter and Facebook from women saying, if you split up with a girl, then delete her nudes or from your phone. And I'm just like, how about this? How about you split up with me? Deal with it, you know. If you don't want a geezer having, if you know, don't get naked on camera or send pictures to a guy who you have that little trust in, you know. And then don't sit there and make fucking demands that he remove, you know, stuff from his phone that is, you know, that's none of your business. Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. That's your fucking, you know, you know, your relationship's over. We leave with what we fucking, you know, whatever we've got at the end, we leave with. And whatever I choose to do with it, as long as it's not in any way, as long as I don't publicly share it or fucking spread it around or use it to fuck, you know, which if you know, if he does, you know, he's going to do that anyway. But you don't have to. You can't sit there and say you should delete them. Well, okay. How about this? How about I tell you I've deleted them, and I don't. Yeah. How about that? I'm like, who fucking thinks like this? You know, who thinks like, who worries about this? You know, dumb shit. The US dollar is worthless. Actually, do you know what, mate? I get paid in dollars, and the pound is, as it drops in value, gets closer to. So I actually earn more money. You know, in terms of numbers, when the pound is doing badly. No, but I find it weird that you see these. But I'm just like, how is this something that, you know, bothers you? You know, or it's just the people, you know, particularly when you see the people on Twitter, these girls on Twitter who are like, oh, I'm so shy. You know, I wish I wasn't so shy and nervous around people. And the next 4 tweets are a picture of her, you know, naked with her arse bent over with her arse on screen. I'm like, there's, you know, I'm like, well, you know, maybe there's a middle ground, I think, darling, between being nervous and shy and socially awkward and showing me your minge, you know, on the internet. I think there's a middle ground here we can find, you know, that. Because if you're looking for geezers who are going to be sympathetic, or, you know, who are going to be, you know, mature enough to be able to, you know, talk to, you know, you're not going to find them by, you know, just showing everyone your tits. You know, those geezers, they're the last geezers you want fucking bothering you. You know. No, I'm not having a go. I'm not comparing the two, right? Listen, I've been on the internet interacting with women from all over the world for 12 years, right? Right? Not a single one of them has not a single image of that has ever left my fucking phone, right? And do you know why? Because I'm a great. There's just me, Jesus, and Mahatma Gandhi, and Richard, and Rick Mail, and that's it. Right? There's just Tom Hanks, Rick Mail, and me. Right? That's it. Right? And all of the women who I've ever shared stuff with, none of them have linked anything anyway either. Do you know how I know this? Because I've been accused multiple times of sending dick pics to people, and yet not one of them can produce a single sodding picture of it. Even after I have publicly, asked them to just share it, to post it somewhere, and and share it, just so I can, because that actually makes my life easier. I then don't have to send women. If you do that, I don't have to send women pictures anymore. I can just post a link online and saying, get in touch. If you're interested, let me know, right? You don't do that dick. Yeah, everyone does. You know what? I'm so tired of that joke. Every picture of me is a dick pic. But the funny thing is, that actually became the argument of the people. Back in 2015, when JJ Talks made a video after two trolls pretending to be young like teenage women, fucking, like basically convinced her, you know, by a soccer coach that that I had been harassing them with photos and stuff like that. Like one of the arguments, about 7 months later, after nothing had been, after not a sodding shred of evidence, and even after the two geezers responsible had publicly fucking and had told me that it was them, right, and they were outed. Even then, people were saying, "Oh no, we're using that as the actual argument." You're going to get some champagne from the store. If you're going to be ghetto, do it properly, right? Get some cheap white wine, and then, just put some, put it in a soda stream. Thanks, Maya. There were literally, what was his fucking name? Ghost something or other. I forget his fucking name. He was one of the cunts from Blue Chat. But he was in a live stream, literally making the claim that when they said dick pic, they meant a picture of me. I'm like, well, how can I be harassing someone? How can I sexually harass someone by sending them literally just a picture of me? Like I could, like whatever, like I could send them. Oh yes, this is sexual harassment. I've got an. Don't get me wrong. I would love to think of myself as being that attractive that this would be considered sexual harassment. No, but I'm not, Najib. Nobody is, right? Unless I've got an actual tattoo of a swastika made out of dicks on my face, there is, I don't know what a goatsy is. Well, I mean, I did have a video once. The first video I ever uploaded, the video I uploaded of my first ever hook suspension, during which was about 15 minutes long, and the majority of which I was in my underwear, got flagged and was taken down as, because it was deemed to be sexual and or pornographic content, right? Now, I will admit, there was a bit of me that went, that's pretty cool. You should definitely Google it. Okay, well, I'm not going to. Mate. I'm too old for this shit. Here's the thing. I spend 98% of my time in my underwear, right? I'm very rarely fully clothed because when you spend most of your time indoors and you work from home and you live alone, what's the fucking point in getting dressed? You know, I think I think the image of me in my underwear is hilarious. You know, and also, who are these people who've grown up in a world where they can be they can be old enough to be in the military, drive a car, but the sight of a man in his underwear is makes them crumble like a fucking souffle. I'm like, you don't have to like it, but don't sit there and act like you've been fucking you've woken up in the night tied to a fucking radiator in some geezer's basement. You know, let's have a bit of perspective here. You know, it's like when you get accused of this is something that annoys me. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that often. But if you've ever been friends with someone on Facebook and you've maybe been bored and and you've scrolled through their photographs and you've gone back maybe 18 months to 2 years and you like a couple of photos. Sometimes you get these women who send you a message saying, telling you to stop stalking them. And it's weird that you've liked 3 photos of mine from 2 years ago. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought, seeing as you're my friend on Facebook, I'd probably, go through and have a look, see, maybe, get to know you a bit. And I use stuff that you voluntarily, publicly uploaded. Yes, you're right. I'm basically Ted Bundy, aren't I? It's a fine line between liking a photo on Facebook and, and being fucking David Koresh, isn't it? How much money by donating to a sperm bank? Probably not as much as probably not enough to fucking live on. If you could, then do they even give money for sperm donations in Hungary? I mean, they don't. I know in America they do it, but they don't do it in a lot. That's, I mean, let's face it. In America, if they're American, there's already going to be issues. Finding any DNA that has not been that is not in any way going to lead to some enraged fucking cross-eyed fucking InfoWars subscriber. I remember once sending this woman who was on my Facebook friends. She was on my Facebook friends. Right? I just sent her, and I'd never spoken to her before, so I sent her a message, and sort of like reaching out, nothing complicated, like, and she gets back to me saying, "Why are you messaging me? I don't even know you." I'm like, I'm on your fucking, and then she blocked me immediately. I'm like, I'm on your fucking Facebook friends, you dozy cow, I'm sorry. What is this? Is this like what is does this not do I not sort of? I mean, if I hadn't already had her added on Facebook, I wouldn't contact her, obviously. But I'm sat there thinking, what is so fucking weird? What is wrong with these people who just they'll add someone, and then if you attempt to actually engage in conversation. It's not like I sent him an all caps message going, "How big are your tits?" Yeah. I'm sorry, what a bad experience. What of someone? Well, then shouldn't they be a bit more vigilant and not add random geezers they don't know? I think if you've got someone on your Facebook friends, that person, should have to at least do something to justify you blocking them before they do it. You shouldn't just, have a bit more of a strict criteria for the people you add. And I understand that that if you're being a woman on the internet is a completely different experience than being a bloke, and I totally understand why certain women, are take extra care and are maybe occasionally they react in a way that is not necessary, but is understandable as purely based on their past experience. Because I get that men are awful, right? But there are some women, just only a minority, but there are some women for whom men harassing and stalking them is more to do with their ego than it is to do with what men have done. Like I got accused. There was this woman once who I was following who followed me on Twitter. This is my old Twitter account. Now, at some point, she removed me from her Twitter. She took me off. She unfollowed me on Twitter and blocked me. I have no idea what the fuck I did. But I followed about 7,000 people. So obviously, I don't keep track of people who have, I can't possibly know. And then a few months later, I had a second Twitter account. And what I tend to do when I have a second account on a social media is I follow the same people, because that way it doesn't matter what account I'm on, my feed is basically the same, so I'm not going to miss anything by being on a different account. And I followed this woman on my second Twitter, and she accused me of stalking her. Like, in her mind, like, I had found out that she had blocked me on my main account, and then I deliberately set up a second account and then followed her along with 2,500 other people, just as a way, several months later, just because, I'm like, don't flatter yourself, darling, right? I'm not that, you're not that fucking, you're not worth that fucking hassle, right? Not every geezer, who fucking, who looks in your direction for more than 2.5 seconds is, plotting to fucking tie you up in his basement and get you in his soundproof van, right? Some of us are just looking over there, But again, so most of the time, I understand. You once dated a girl, fuck off. You're in my chat room on New Year's Eve on the internet, right? And you expect me to believe you dated a girl. By dated, right, what you mean is, you found, and by girl, you mean a corpse of, a corpse of a raccoon that had washed up on the shore. It's lockdown. Dude, we just hit a record for fucking coronavirus infections, and another record. We're smashing. We are the Usain Bolt of coronavirus at the moment. He was a virgin. Look, there's nothing wrong with being a. Look, people's sexual lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people. Do you know what? The only sexuality that I am genuinely envious of, to a degree where I could consider, if I could click my fingers, is people who are asexual, because the amount of shit I could have got done by now, I would be so fucking far ahead than I am now. I would have got there's shit that I'm doing now that I would have got done fucking 7-8 years ago if I didn't have access to unlimited free pornography. Pubs are shut in Scotland. Well, fucking hell. That is grab one of every animal and head for the fucking hills, people. Scotland has shut the pubs. And they can't even do what they normally do, which is travel to London and be homeless, They're saying that Scotland is there's so few people in Scotland that social distancing should, quite frankly, be almost a default way of life. Only Mongolia has a fucking has a less dense population. Scotland could leave the Union. They could, and you know what? I don't blame them. You're not homeless these days. That's just you saying it. I would hope not. If you were, I would sit here and go, what the fuck are you doing watching me? Right. How are you watching me? Right. For a start. And secondly, you know, how homeless are you? Yeah. Your dad's friends with a famous Mongolian boxer. Well, you know, well, I mean, if that is not, you know, okay, the fact that you said famous Mongolian boxer and not the geezer's name suggests that the term famous is maybe doing a bit of heavy lifting there. Yeah. I remember when I gave a speech once at my old college, they were doing like they were doing like they were having this event, and they wanted to get past pupils from other courses who had, you know, gone on to do relatively well, and it says a lot for the fucking people I was at college with that I was selected, and I was introduced. I had to give like a sort of 8-minute like speech, and you know, and just sort of talking about the college and, you know, my experiences and yada yada yada. And I was introduced as a famous comedian. So my opening line was, you know, thank you for the introduction. Although I would suggest that being famous is a bit like being good in bed. If you have to tell everyone first, you know, and everyone laughed and thought I was great, and then I carried on with the actual plan, you know, because I'm a genius, basically. You know. What was Scotland reunion? Okay, that would be Scotch. That'd be Scotch tape. Scotch exit. Scotch exit. There you go. I mean, it's right there. If that's not what it gets called, then fuck the human race, quite frankly, because there is no better. There is nothing. You're not going to find a better. You could get the 10 funniest Jews in New York to fucking work for a month, and they won't come up with anything better than that. That is true. Entry in Eurovision, and I hope it's the Proclaimers. You know. What's the only thing better than both the Proclaimers dying in a car crash? Just one of them dying in a car crash. Because then that leaves the other one just looking fucking stupid. I remember there was one for Ireland, if Ireland left the EU, and it was going to be called Feck It. I thought that was quite fun. Yeah. Can we all agree that the worst one was Candace Owens trying to get Blaxit, or Blexit? That just sounds like, that sounds to me like, every time I hear that, I just think that sounds like a racist stereotype of an Asian person saying Brexit. You know, I mean, it's Candace Owens, so I don't expect anything. You know, I don't expect her to come up with anything imaginative. But, you know. You like Candice? Look, mate, I'm not going to kink shame you, right? We're all into weird shit, okay? If you're the sort of geezer who has some weird sexual fantasy about, you know, being a slave master, she's one of the few black women who will definitely be willing to go along with that. But, you know. Yeah, you need to get rid of California, because that won't, despite the fact that California on its own is like the 5th biggest economy in the world. You know, I mean, let's face it. If you took New York and California out of America, right? Economically, you're fucking barely competitive with Beirut. It's on fire though. Well, then what does that say about the rest of the country? The fact that it's got a perfectly habitable, it's got a climate that is tolerable. It has things like weather, and it's got loads of space. And yet this country that is just full of, basically, it's just full of gays and, people rollerblading and, surfers and geezers called Brad and, and it's on fire, and it had 8 years where Arnold Schwarzenegger was in charge of it, and it's still fucking a million miles away. She's fighting Facebook. No, she's fucking not. Grow up. Candace Owens is fighting Facebook. Oh yeah, this in from Facebook. What? Oh, is she? Good for you. This is like sitting there giving a fucking primordial dwarf credit because it's trying to take on Mike Tyson in the 80s. Right? Well done, mate, but no. This is like, it's like this is like those cunts on Twitter who challenge people. Like, who go on and, I could go on Twitter and challenge, like, Ted Cruz. I challenge you to a debate. If you don't get back to me in an hour, you're officially a homo. And he won't, because why the fuck would he? Why the fuck should he fucking care? We've had this recently with Jimmy Dore bothering fucking AOC, and people going, why is AOC not responding to Jimmy Dore? Because it's Jimmy Dore, for fuck's sake. She's got lots of shit on at the moment. She's a busy woman. She hasn't got time to deal with some fucking just angry fucking left-wing internet comedian who's bothering her, who's just trying to fucking get some views and attention on him off the back of it. Fair enough, right? But don't. It's amazing how little sense of humour Jimmy Dore fans have got, right? You can like whoever you want. I don't care if you like Jimmy Dore, I don't even care if you find him funny. Who am I to judge? But just understand his place in comedic hierarchy. He's not George Carlin. He's not fucking Richard Pryor. He's not Bill Hicks. He's not Stanhope. He's not. He's better than Dave Rubin, but he is at best the left-wing version of Dennis Miller. Right? And even Miller was fucking mainstream at one point, But that's it, No, he's not. He wishes he was Roy Chubby Brown. Listen, I will, whilst I am totally fucking sympathetic and completely understand the issues with Chubby Brown, I will also happily defend and make a defence of him if I have to, and I have done, Before Michael McIntyre brought his DVD in 2005, the most successful British comedian in terms of DVD sales and sellout tours was Roy Chubby Brown, because he always toured. And every year he brought out a DVD, and it would be the biggest selling the week it came out, right? Yeah. And also, he's also one of the few comedians of that era who has performed abroad. He's performed in Asia, he's performed in Australia, he's even performed in America. And the only other person who's done something like that is Bernard Manning, because he was a Las Vegas, he performed in Las Vegas for a very long time, which says everything you need to know about Las Vegas, really. The fact that you could have imported any British comedian and Bernard Manning somehow made it, But I guarantee you he wasn't doing a lot of the material that made him so infamous over here in Las Vegas. I guarantee you that, Do you know what? It's not the right-wing comedians. Do you know what? I just don't think it's a case of right-wing comedians sucking. A comedian, I know people who are, not necessarily left-wing, who are everything from centre to conservative to libertarian or whatever, who are funny and and they're good at what they do. I just don't think a lot of people on the right want to be comedians. This is why on so many TV shows, the right wing, on comedy panel shows like Have I Got News for You, or the right wing comedian representative is never there. It's someone, it's a journalist or a pundit or a presenter or some kind of talking head. It's never actually, Do you know what I've been listening to? I spent the last month. I've been binging on, because I had previously, apart from a couple of, apart from one or two pieces, bits they did. I had previously, not been a fan, not been a fan of Opie and Anthony. But then I spent a month binge watching everything, and I've actually, realised how good they were. And I've actually, specifically Jim Norton, I've got into a lot of I've watched a lot more Jim Norton stand up, and and he is a lot better than I gave him credit for. But just because you don't find someone funny doesn't mean they're a bad comedian. I mean, that's just subjective. There's a guy there's a couple of comedians in this country. Andrew Lawrence is one. He's more right. He's quite right wing, or come out as right wing, about 5-6 years ago. And there's another guy called Jeff Norcott, Jeff Norcott was actually a comedian. He was on the bill at my first ever gig, and he and I did a lot of gigs together. And he's always been, he's always been a really nice guy. I've always gotten well with him. But he's a Christian conservative who was pro-Brexit, and he actually did a stand-up show a couple of years ago in Edinburgh. And he sells. That's how he sells himself to be. He sells himself as I think his show was literally called Conservative, and he sold out every night because he's literally he's selling himself. He's got the thing. This is the thing that makes me comedians like me. Some pasty white guy with pink hair, skinny jeans, who's a fucking who's this lefty who's gonna make all the who's gonna say all the right things and hold all of the right on positions. You could find 10 of me by throwing a handkerchief, in Edinburgh, but finding a guy who's no, actually, do you know what? I got into leggings last year. I bought a couple of pairs of leggings. It didn't take long before they weren't very expensive. But I bought a pair of like Beetlejuice black and white striped leggings, and actually, it's what the hold on, seller. Where's that picture? Here it is. Hold on. Yeah. I mean, this was it. Yeah. I went out longboarding once, dressed like that. And there is nothing for you. Forget learning karate, or self-defense, or carrying a gun. If you go out at night dressed like that, on your own, literally nobody will fuck with you, right? No one is gonna fuck with you, particularly if you're skateboarding in a car park, because they will, because what kind of nutter would fucking, One of the funniest ones, and if I put my hood up, if I got my big coat on, I used to put my hood up, right? And I remember one geezer, like, he couldn't see, like, the mask until he was about 5 feet away, and I pulled it back, and the look on his face was priceless. I wish I had a photo of it, because I just could tell at that moment he thought, I'm gonna end up as a fucking lampshade in this geezer's fucking house. It's like it's there's something. This is why I love like masks in general, because when you've got a full face mask on, people do react differently to it. They don't react to, there's a geezer clearly wearing a mask. You know, they think there's a geezer, you know, there's a nutter. There is a nutter, and he is, like, if you've got a scary mask on, they think, you know, there is a fucking literal, you know, there is paedophile super Hitler right there. Yeah, but the cops can go suck a dick, mate. You know why? Because social distancing and face masks, right? Just because you've got to wear a face mask in shops, there's nothing that says it can't cover your whole face, you know? What's the difference between a face mask that covers you from the bridge of your nose down to one like that covers, you know, you can still see one eye, you know? And the dreadlocks make it, I think, you know? That's just there to trigger the libs, you know, who think that, you know, white guys with dreadlocks are basically Klansmen, you know? No, cops are fine. You know what I mean? I had two coppers. I spoke to two police. I mean, this is where I'm so full of shit. You see people going, yeah, all coppers are bastards. But like, I see two policemen in the street, and they're like, they ask to talk to me. I'm like, hello, officer. Hello, yes, of course. Hello, what? Yes, of course, officer. Yes, the man you're looking for is exactly over there. But these two guys were talking, and these two coppers were talking to me. They were actually asking about another geezer on a bike. I'm like, yeah, fucking right. You know, these cunts on bikes. You know, it's not. You know, I'm a longboarder officer. I'm not going to commit a crime because I literally, unless it's a crime at the top of a very steep hill, then I'm never going to get away. I'm never going to be a threat. You know, because I won't get away quick enough. You know, if it's anywhere if it's level ground, you know, if there's not a slight incline, then I'm pretty much fucked. You know. It's the geezer on a bike you should be, you know, careful of. Who is that guy? Don't know. If I knew, I would tell you everything, officer. Because I don't even care if he's innocent or not. You know, I honestly don't. You know. Just leave me the fuck alone. You know, thing is, I still have that psychology where I forget that, you know, because I used to get stopped. I used to work at an area. Cheers, Dave. I used to work in this area where every week there was at least one fucking, you know, there would be at least 3 meat wagons, which is vans of police raiding some house, you know, one a week, and I would get stopped constantly because, let's be honest, if you're a copper and you're looking for someone to search, and you're looking for someone specifically who's more likely to have something dodgy on them, you know, who would not stop me? Right, and I never, you know, I managed to get away with it. Even when I had shit on me, even when there was a wrap of cocaine in the wallet that they were looking in, you know, I managed to get away with it, you know. And I still, whenever I talk to a policeman, I still have that thing, like, I'm like, I forget that I've got nothing, I've got no shit on me. Right, I've got nothing, I haven't got any fucking, I've got nothing illegal on me. I'm not a minority, although in Market Harbour, you know, I might as well be. I've got more brown skin than virtually every other. You know, there's like 3 people. One of the, you know, in fact, there are 4. I've only ever seen 5 examples of black people in Market Harbour in the years I've lived here, and one of them was a gollywog doll in a shop window, right? And that was the first one I saw. That was after 3 months, right? It's like, you know, the only place I've been to where there's been less cultural and racial diversity was Bavaria, which is a lovely place, but a bit odd, right? But one of my ex-girlfriends was from Bavaria, and I went there with her, and it's a weird place. And I'd been there for about 4 days, and because I'm more conscious of these things nowadays, I sort of automatically look. And I just remember I'd been there 4 days, and I was like, everyone's been white so far. I haven't seen any ethnic or racial minorities. And I asked my girlfriend, you know, I haven't seen, is there no sort of, you know, are there no racial minorities here? And this is honestly what she said. You know, she said, yes, we've had a couple, but they didn't last long. And in a German accent, that is a terrifying sentence. You know, she's like, yes, we had some, but they didn't last long. You know, I'm like, am I in a fucking like little miniature real? Is this like the town Get Out was based on? Unfortunately, though, like most areas I've lived in that are very, very, that have almost no diversity and are usually safe conservative seats. They are, I'm sorry to say, they are always quite nice places to live, right? And I've lived in a lot of I mean, there was I read this fucking list, and it was a ranking of every town/city in the UK from best to worst, and out of the top 20 out of the bottom 20, I had lived in 9 of them, right? Which is something I think speaks to my socialist credentials, Which is better, Bavarian or Devonshire? Okay, Bavarian doesn't have cream. Bavarians eat meat. They eat. You want deli meat. Breakfast in fucking Germany is bread, cheese, and fucking sliced deli meat. Salami, pepperoni. Pastrami. Literally. Bavaria was lovely, I actually ended up going in a cable car up to the top, and I went and had lunch on the top of a mountain, which overlooked the Swiss Alps. Right? And at one point, and I was trying to work out how tall the Alps were in relation to the mountain I was on, and I'm not joking. My girlfriend could have killed me, and she never believed me that this was not intentional. I was trying to see, so I was literally putting my hand out to see where the mountaintops were, like in relation to the and then she's like looks at me. I look at her and I realise what I'm doing. I'm standing on top of a Bavarian mountain, looking out to the world with my hand up and my palm flat and just waving it around. And she did not. I'm like, I swear to Christ, it was. I did not. That is not what it looked like. I am not fucking around, right? Please believe me. I'm not that malicious, but I am that fucking stupid. I would stand on a mountain in Bavaria and do that. And the worrying thing is, no one but her gave a shit, right? Which I think is more interesting than the fact that I did that in the first place. Because you did that anywhere else. You do that in most places, right? You're going to get asked to leave. And she was already getting annoyed at my puns, my German puns, right? Earlier, like a couple of days previously, the weather had been quite bad. It was raining, then it was snowing, then it started hailing. And she came in and said, oh, it's hailing outside. I went, no, this is Germany, so it's presumably called Zig hail. Right? Didn't like that. And we went for dinner one night, and I had this, huge bratwurst sausage, with potatoes and cabbage and stuff, and she said, how's your food? And I went, it could be versed, right? And she looked at me like, she had that Billie Eilish has got what I call dad joke reaction resting face, which like eyelids half open, one eyebrow raised, not impressed. I send it. The thing about the Alps is it's just like, and again, this is the thing, I've never got this, and I've said this before, but I don't get scenery. I know everyone else is standing there taking pictures and going, oh, isn't it beautiful? But to me, when people say it's got great, look at that landscape, look at the scenery. Scenery just means this is something that human beings have not had a chance to fuck up yet. Because it's always some like expanse of water or expanse of land or mountainscape or hillscape or fields. It's never anything. No one ever looks out, on a built-up area of tower blocks. All of which one on their own requires more fucking skill, intelligence, and and work and effort to create than anything nature's done. But we don't do that. That's just, so when people say, I'm just like, what you mean there's fuck all there? And that's all the Alps is. It's the same as like when people look out on this wonderful, green grass and blue sky, and it's just nothing and they go, isn't this scenery, isn't this wonderful? I'm like, no, all you mean is there's fuck all here. the countryside. It just, what you mean is there's nothing here. We human beings haven't got round to fucking paving over this and building something on it that could resemble civilization. This is an area where there's literally more. There are 25, barnyard animals to every human. People say that things like brain tumours and lung cancer are more likely in the city. Well, do you know what? So is everything else. Including entertainment, sex, conversation. That's the price you pay for for being able to actually meet human beings. And plus it's just living is cancer. Oh, fuck off, Yvette. Go back to 93 and put on a Nirvana record. Living is cancer. We're all dying. Sylvia Plath fucking bullshit. That's this is the argument Doug Stanhope makes about legalizing drugs. That he said he hates the fact that people have to resort to medicinal benefits of legalize a drug, because boredom is a disease worse than cancer, and drugs cure it with little or no side effects if used as directed correctly. And you like nature. Well, I like nature. That's like, you might as well just say, like, nature is everything, though. What the fuck is people always have this obsession with separating human beings from nature. Like, anything we do is not part of nature. Or if we interfere or get involved in something, we're interfering with nature. It's like, but I'm part of nature. I was created by nature. So by definition, anything I fucking do is also part of that natural process. Just because what I do and results in wiping out huge, thousands of species of animal go extinct, doesn't mean I'm not. Sex is nature. Is it really? Well, not the way, not if it's done right. Nature did fuck up, Nature created human beings. Human beings commit suicide. That's how fucking stupid nature is. Nature created, just purely by chance, an animal that could be so conscious and so aware of everything around it and the circumstances it lives in, that it ends up killing itself because it doesn't want to exist in in this reality that it's been put. I mean, that is just neurotic hairless apes. Hey, there's nothing wrong. Hey, not in the 70s. No, the space station isn't part of nature, but I mean, you can't say the space station has not come about through natural. Through you can't say it's unnatural. The space station is man-made, but I wouldn't go as far to say it's natural. It's man-made, but man is part of nature, so nature helped create it. You can't grow a space station. Featherless bipeds. I prefer to think of us as I prefer to think of us as underweight bald gorillas. Asian people are hairless as well. They're super hairless. Does that mean you saying that we're more advanced than them, or that we have I made new friends? Do you know what one of the things I really sort of had when I started skateboarding? One of the things that I was really self-conscious about was the fact that I'm obviously 41 years old. I was 40 when I started, and everyone else, when I went to a skate park, everyone else was fucking 2 years old, and they were quite clearly light years ahead of me in terms of talent. And so I was very self-conscious about that, and the fact that and also I'm on my own when I go there, and so, but honestly, I was surprised. I went to one skate park but then I went to a skate park. It was a pump track, actually. It was a pump track and skate area down the road in a tiny little town just outside. I actually longboarded there. It was a 4-mile trip, and I longboarded the whole way there. And I got there, and I wanted to do this pump track. And for those who don't know, a pump track is basically a concrete route that's got lots of hills in it, and sort of and steeped corners. And the idea, and it's very, very smooth. And the idea is that you don't actually have to push off, constantly. You'll just keep going. You'll keep getting faster and faster. And I was really nervous about sort of doing it. And plus, particularly when you're starting out, you don't want to fall over in front of people. That is literally, you'd rather explode. I'd rather, all my clothes fell off, and my dick exploded in front of these people than that. But I asked this one guy who happened to be near me. I asked him for some advice because I wasn't sure the best way to approach it. And he was so. And all of the other people sort of like saw me I was about to do my first attempt at a push off on a pump track, and like there were guys on the ramps who were like going, "Go on, mate, go on, good luck." They were, and honestly, it's like even little kids, even kids who are literally, they just got out of their mum. Their mum just shat them out that morning, and they're already at a skate park, doing triple somersaults on a scooter, and going down 45-foot fucking vertical ramps. And there's me there, and they're honestly so fucking, I was expecting a lot more sort of like, snobbery, and there is a tiny bit of that in these sort of, there are certain skateboarders who have this stick up their arse about longboarders. It tends to always be skateboarders more often than not who have this fucking funny gatekeeping mentality towards longboarders. To me, it's like, look, all of us have got one thing in common. We think that it's a worthwhile use of our time to stand on a plank of wood with 4 plastic wheels on it, no brakes, no fucking belts, no padding, and we think going down a hill at 75 miles an hour on what is just a piece of wood with some sandpaper on it is a reasonable way to choose to live your life. So can we not all just unite on that one basis? Whether the piece of wood you have is 22 inches long or it's 62 inches long, just because my bit of wood is longer than yours, don't get all shitty with me about it. That's just, you can do more tricks than I can, Cheese, you say that, but is it more reasonable, or is it this just a cheese roll is a less common occurrence? I used to bring this up to people who would like freak out when they saw pictures of me doing a hook suspension, but when I was doing a marathon, everyone was like super encouraging and really, really supportive, and and they were completely and utterly behind me, and I'm like, if you compare the two, you compare every element, of the two, hook suspension versus marathon. Marathon is much more fucked up. It's more painful. It takes long. It takes fucking months and months and months of preparation. The after effects and the pain you feel, last for nearly a week after you've finished it. It's emotionally, psychologically draining, and yet, and all you've really done at the end is you've walked in a circle. You crossed the finish line, which is the same place you left from. Right? A hook suspension, no preparation, you turn up, you do it, it stings, they take the hooks out, it's over. That's it. If anything, the fucking marathon should be, if we were judging it on that kind of basis, the thing that should freak you out is people who choose to do marathons, people who put a hook through the back of their skin and get lifted off the ground. That's like, oh, that's fucking fair play, but and they're both as fucking pointless as each other. There's nothing gained in the grand scheme of things from either. A hook suspension, it can last as much time as you want. The first time I did it, I was literally up there 5 minutes. The second time I did it, I was up there for about 20. There are people who, if they have the means to do so, can go up there. Have been up there, can go up there for hours. There are people who do it as performances and show. And plus, there's like fucking 300 different ways people can suspend themselves, and people can do it. Or there's the ultimate way, which is what I want to one day do, is the bungee jump hook suspension, where you have the hook's in your back, like I did with the first one, and then you jump off a cliff, and there's a bungee cord attached to you, and then that is now. I know that exists because I saw it, and the guy who did my first one showed me a video of him doing it. And as soon as he did it, I was like, you absolute fucking French cunt. Now you've shown me that, I have to do that because I know that exists. And that looks insane. And, you know, if you had never shown me that, the odds are I never would have fucking known about it. And I could go the rest of my life feeling like this was enough. But now you have forced me, being the type of person I am, to one day be on a path of destiny where I'm going to jump off the side of a fucking cliff in Switzerland with 3 hooks in my back. No one, as far as I'm aware, you can't get a scrotum hook suspension. However, the most extreme form of hook suspension, for a long time, the most extreme version, don't do it. No, I'm going to do it, mate. Hudson, my mother couldn't talk me out of this, right? So don't waste your time saying don't do it. I'm going to do it. You know. If I didn't do everything that I wanted to do based on literally nothing other than the fact that that looks insane and something that I shouldn't do, then I wouldn't have got to the lofty heights of success, fame, and notoriety that I have, right? But the most extreme version of hook suspension used to be, for a long time, it was one hook through the centre, through the skin beneath your nipples, just one hook there. Obviously, the less hooks you have, and the more sort of generally, and the tighter the skin, the more painful it's going to be. But since then, that is now the second most painful. Right, the most painful, right, is where you have one hook through that pinch of skin on the end of your elbow, and you get lifted off the ground like that. And believe me when I say, no fucking way. You'd have to pay me 100 times more than they would fucking charge. They would charge me to fucking do that. I would have to get, like, if you can get Little Mix nude in a hotel for a week, and I can have full, and they have to do whatever I say, then okay, we can discuss possibilities. But short of that, I'm not doing that one. It's the same thing with the eye tattoos, right? They do kind of look cool, but at the same time, I'm just like, you just look like you've been up all night, you know. Does it matter how heavy you are? No. The only time that, don't get me wrong, there have been occasions, people always talk about the skin tearing. Skin doesn't tear, it's elastic, right? It will just it will, it's like with the flesh tunnel. This is another thing I want to do this year. I want to reopen this bastard. I originally got this up to 45 millimeters, which is pretty fucking big. Now, what happens eventually with your flesh tunnel is you'll stretch it out to a point, and the elasticity of your ear and skin will just go, because it's been stretched beyond what is capable of. It's like stretching, plasticine. It will go there, and then it will go, and then it will just cave in and go and collapse under it. And that's the same with the ear. It will get to a point where the elasticity will just disintegrate. And that's how you get those, and that's why you see geezers with those big floppy bits around their ears. You can get it fucking sewn back up. I mean, you can get reconstructive surgery to get it all done back up again. I once went out on a Saturday night for a laugh. I put a padlock through my flesh tunnel that was hanging down to about here, right? And then we went out, for an evening to, on a Saturday night into the town. To go to pubs and clubs. And what I learned one thing: if you go out, with a padlock in your ear, you have virtually no chance of getting let into any nightclub or pub, because apparently it makes people look at you and think, this guy's going to be trouble. When in fact I was the least likely to cause trouble, because there is nothing, you just don't want to move your head, because anytime you move your head, this fucking thing is swinging about, stretching your ear out, and it's fucking painful as hell. And I stupidly didn't bring the key with me, so I had to fucking leave it there. Yeah. That's the other. I mean, the other thing is like, the one body modification that I really would like to do is the lizard tongue, where they slice your tongue in half down the middle, and then they stitch it up and heals over, and you end up with being able to do all that shit with your tongue. That just looks cool. However, the recovery process, the recovery process from that is quite sort of like, it's like 3 or 4 days, and you have to spit out. You can't, there's going to be, they stitch your mouth, your tongue back up, and then you've got to wait for it to heal. You can't smoke, you can't eat or drink certain things. You have to spit out you can't swallow any fucking saliva because you're going to be bleeding. Having a tattoo. Tattoos hurt, yeah. I mean, some hurt more than others. There are certain places like chest. The reason I've never had chest tattoos, I've got one tiny chest tattoo, and that was like, fuck this shit. Right? Whereas this one, like, people always used to tell me when you get your arm done, the underside of your arm is really painful. And I honestly, the arm tattoo never bothered me. The only point it bothered me was at the top. Whenever it gets near a big bone, that's when it fucking starts to really hurt. Like the eagle on the back of my neck, part of the head goes over the base of my neck, like that big round bone at the base of your neck, and when it hits that bone, it travels across your shoulder blades, yeah. I would love if I could start again, like with with completely with flattened, clean canvas, no tattoo. I would get one of those Japanese Yakuza bodysuits, but I would change elements of it to make it more sort of like, I would completely and utterly bastardize it in a way that cultural appropriation fanatics would not approve of. I would. I actually have been thinking, because most of my artwork I've been doing is based on, is centered around, just black ink. I actually thought, one thing I've been looking out for, I'd love to find like a tattooist nearby that are willing to do, that are willing to take me on as like a sort of apprentice, where I could learn, because I think that would be, because that's effectively what, they do with a tattoo, with tattoos, is they get a thing, they print it off, they transfer it onto your body, and then you draw on it. And it's like, well, if I can do, and portrait one of the things that is incredibly difficult to come across in tattooing is like people who do good portrait tattoos. He's learning how to tattoo. Yeah, I mean, it's like the only problem is I worry that no tattooist would take me on, given the fact that I've got no feeling in my hands. And to be fair, I don't know yet whether that might be an issue. That could possibly, because it's obviously a completely different, process, and it's a completely different sensation than just drawing, But failing that, it would be, it'd be cool just to learn, and I would literally just cover myself up. I would give myself the shittest fucking, just dodgiest, cheapest fucking prison yard fucking tattoos. I could fuck like. That would be a good thing for charity. Is like, I'll set up a tattooing station, and I'll literally say to people, if you give me £10, you get 10 minutes. You can draw literally anything you want. On any part of my body. Right there you go. And £10 goes to charity. With the exception of my face and head, right, and neck, right. Apart from that, and bollocks and cock, right, you can't draw on that. Right? But that would be fun. What's my favourite tattoo? What, that I've seen or that I've got? Right. Well, I mean, it's probably got to be the snake on the arm, because it's a snake on the arm. I mean, it's so out of and I didn't get it, like all my tattoos, I didn't get it for any fucking any reasons or meaning that is deep or personal or incredibly, or incredibly emotional that requires me to sit here and explain. No, it's because I wanted a snake on my arm because that would look cool. Yeah. Because that's why you get a tattoo. You get a tattoo so you can walk around with your fucking, and flash them off, and you can walk, and plus when you look like me, which is basically, I'm built like a gypsy's dog, right? All dick and bones, and I've got skin that is almost reflective, right? Because I can't tan. It's nice to have something, on my body that people will see immediately and go, oh, before they realise that I just look like an anemic Siamese cat. Yeah, tattoo was war paint. Yeah, but that's back when they used a plank of wood with 4 nails and they fucking hammered them into your face. These geezers were not did not follow standard health and safety protocol. Which to be fair, that's what that one was. That was a guy, I got that at a tattoo convention from a guy called Mr. Wu, who was from Thailand, who did tattoos, who basically did tattoos with a needle on a stick, and it was the most terrifying experience of my life, getting a tattoo. And but I mean, it was impressive as hell. Basically, they put the you pick whatever little design you want, and then they put they transfer it on, and then his little sort of like assistant chavvy, like basically you put your hand on a pillow, and then this guy pulls your skin tight, like he holds you in place. And Mr. Wu, he doesn't like do it like that, like hold on to. He stands above you like fucking Ahab, like, and he fucking harpoons like he's a good 8 inches away each time. He go bang, 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 and you're there just going, oh, 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 like in every part of you's going, run away now, like but you just frozen because if you fucking move, he's gonna stab you in. But it was like. And halfway through, I'd already had 7 hours done on my, the guy who was my sort of main tattooist who designed the snake. He did 7 hours on that, and I hadn't eaten all day, so I'd sat there, had 7 hours of tattooing on that, and then went for this, and I nearly passed out halfway through. I was dripping with sweat, and normally when you're feeling rough, most tattooists just go, oh, give you 5 minutes, here you go, relax. But not this guy. He just comes over to you, gets this this face towel, this flannel, dips it into some water, and then he just rubs it in your face, like grabs your head, pushes your head down, starts massaging your neck, and then he pulls you up again, rubs your face. But you don't know what he doesn't say, hold on, I'll help you out. No, he just does it, and you're like. He does it for like 3 minutes, and then you sort of like, he stops, and then you go, oh, I feel better now. And then they carry on, I mean, that was the tattoo, that was at a tattoo convention where I met the world's most tattooed man, who basically was a little bit shorter than me, skinny white guy, who was basically, he was a smurf. He'd been coloured in. He'd been coloured in everything. And in fact, he had all of the black tattooing had white tattoos, so he was actually like 160% covered in tattoos because he had tattooed white tattoos over the black ink tattoos, and he had everything: eyelids, inside of his ears, soles of his feet, right, his fucking his bollocks, his fucking his lips, like everything. And I'm like, and I just remember it was really funny because I said, do you regret it? And he went, oh, immediately. No, not the leopard guy. No, he used to be. Leopard guy was only 98.2% coverage. This guy was 100%, coverage. He had, and he was just coloured in. There was no patterns. There was no cut. It was just black coloured in, And you just think, fair play, because like someone had to do it, As I didn't ask, and you know what? I'm not going to, because either answer is fine with me. If he said yes, I wouldn't be surprised. If he said no, I wouldn't be surprised. You thought, no, you're thinking if people get painted. Getting tattooed is not the same as getting your skin painted. If you're getting painted, skin. You have to have skin exposed so it gets oxygen. Otherwise, you could die. Getting a tattoo is not the same as getting. And plus, remember, this is something that would have taken years for him to fucking do. And it's not like he doesn't have skin that isn't coloured in. It's just not counted. Particularly nowadays. Nowadays, you couldn't do that because most tattooists don't do. Most tattooists won't tattoo around the front of your neck because that's where your jugular is. A lot of tattooists won't do things like eyelids. Right? A lot of tattooists won't do things like the soles of your feet or your hand. Some of them won't even do your hands. So it's fully dependent, really. He didn't have his eyes tattooed, but the thing about the eye tattoos is they're not really the same, because it's more a kind of dyeing process than it is tattooing. It's not really the same thing. And plus, even people who've got it, most of them are like, don't do this. This is, honestly, it's just not worth it, But beyond that, and I also met a guy who had the most impressive tattoo I have ever seen in my life. He was this huge guy, he was very big, very tall, he was about 6'4", very, very wide back, and his back he had the Mona Lisa. And if you'd just been shown like a picture of and not been told, it looked, you think like, well, that's at least a fucking good replica. But this was, and he had the same frame. I mean, this must have taken years and cost him thousands of pounds. And the geezer who did it must have been a fucking genius, because that is a responsibility that I would not want. Was it a scale? I don't know. I don't know how big the Mona Lisa is, and I'm not gonna. And really, I mean, it should cover the whole back. If you're going to get that, even if it was just in the centre of your back, because that's how small the Mona Lisa is, you'd be like, no, just do it the whole fucking, just cover everything, I did want to at one point when I was younger. I wanted to get a Steve-O. Steve-O's got himself tattooed on his back, going, yeah, dude. I did for a while think that would be hilarious, just I wanted to get myself tattooed on my back, doing a thumbs up from the side, and then if anyone was looking at my back, I would just turn around and go, because they'd be like, who the fuck's that cunt, but yeah, but I love fucking badly. I love tattoos that are. I prefer funny tattoo. Like one of my. I've always got a soft spot for the tattoo on the back of my neck, which is my astrological star sign, except it's not. It's the wrong star sign. I'm a Scorpio. That's a Libra, right? And it's wrong on purpose. Right? And there's just nothing funnier than telling people that not only have I got the wrong star sign tattooed on my neck, but I did it on purpose. For years I've avoided counting my tattoos because I think it's funnier when people say how many tattoos you got. I'm like, it's 10. It's either 10, 11, or 12, right? But I'm not sure. I think it might be 11, but it could be 12. Maybe only 10, because that's funnier than me actually knowing. Because then people are like, what kind of nutter doesn't know how many tattoos he's fucking got? I remember when the song Gay Bar by Electric Six came out, I wanted to get I've Got Something to Put in You tattooed above my belt line. Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because, well, in that case, that's even funnier. The fact that I've now had this tattoo, I got this tattoo so long ago that since then I've now entered into the astrological dates have changed, and it's now actually my right star sign. Because that just kind of emphasises the point. If I had to put any kind of the reason behind it, it's because I don't believe astrology is in any way valid. I think it's bullshit. So it doesn't matter. I can get whatever star sign I want. And it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong, He might even be backwards, upside down, and fucking. It doesn't matter. That's the point, you know. This is the tattoo equivalent of me going, well, actually, you know. You know, when I've got like you know, it's like the Japanese writing, like that bit, that Japanese writing underneath on my snake band. It says "enjoy yourself." I wanted to get working class scum, but because, but there's no Japanese equivalent to the words working class scum. They don't have. So I don't know. Can you get worthless piece of shit? Could we get that? You know. The first tattoo I got was you know, actually, you know, with, you know, the Japanese symbols there. I've got the Japanese symbol and the Celtic band, or as I refer to it, the Sporty Spice combo. Right. That's how you know that I grew up in the 90s and I was cool. Right. Because I've got the Sporty Spice Japanese writing Celtic band combo, and the words mean lucky man, but the word lucky has three meanings. The symbol for lucky. It also means warrior, and it also means virgin. And I'm like, that's perfect. Because, you know, I just, you know, I don't meet many Japanese people, but I just like the idea that they might see that and think, why has that geezer got virgin man tattooed? And I can just say it's ironic, you know. And apparently the word man also can mean beauty. You know, which, you know, and I'm kind of annoyed because I thought if only the other symbol meant black, then that could lead to all sorts of fucking hilarious. So I would go to Japan with my fucking arms showing, just to fucking, in the hope that I might cause some confusion or fucking make someone laugh at the fact I've got black beauty tattooed. Yeah, but it's a Western thing. You don't see people in Japan with English words written on them, you know, which is. But I grew up in. I grew up in an area where it was very common to see. My next door neighbour, Roy, has got literally like the worst tattoo. He's tattooed. He's got loads of tattoos, but they are literally the worst fucking tattoos. He's got the dotted line across his neck and a fucking shitty razor blade thing with cut hair. He's got the swallows on the fucking hands, the teardrop. He's got like a rose with a banner on it. He's got the anchor with fucking. He's got every fucking like OG fucking tattooed, like, you know, I'm sure in the fucking 50s and 60s he was the hippest geezer ever, you know. Cheers, Serpenthrope, if that is your real name, or is that Serpenthrope, or Serpent H Rope, I don't know. Whatever your fucking name is, thanks for the money. I assure you, whilst there are much more worthy causes, I can assure you that giving me money, I can guarantee you that it will probably be wasted and spent on something that I don't need and will immediately regret purchasing. And that will, you know, and that will result in me having to go without food for a week. But it will be the most fun, you know. $10 towards longboarding. What am I going to buy for $10? I couldn't even get a new set of. There is nothing. No, I couldn't get a deck, a board, a set of wheels, some bearings, some bushings. I couldn't get anything. I might be able to get some screws to screw the trucks into the deck. Right. That is something I'd like to do in 2021, is to actually get all of the components together, you know, and to build and to create my own board, right? I'll get the deck cut, but putting on but like any sort of design on it, any kind of like artwork on the bottom would be done by me, and then just buy the trucks and the shit online and the because let's face it, if you're going to do something dangerous, I mean, skateboarding is dangerous enough as it is. It is fraught with, the odds, the odds that I make it over, for between now and next year without breaking or severely injuring myself multiple times is fucking basically nil. So I might as well go to the next level, take it even further, and guarantee it by riding a skateboard that I've actually built. I mean, that's up there. That's got to be up there with like snake handling, fucking a prostitute in Rwanda without a condom, Russian roulette. There's got to be up there with the most dangerous fucking things a human being can possibly do. Licking Freddie Mercury's toilet seat, all of these things. From teak with orange juice wheels. When you say orange juice wheels, you mean that's the make of wheels, or were they a company called Juice that made orange wheels, or were they O.J. Simpson wheels? Yeah. That would be pretty cool. Getting O.J. Simpson wheels. I don't know what that would entail. It doesn't leave, it doesn't leave any fucking, doesn't leave any trace of like, it's somehow, even when you crash, these wheels, will not take fucking responsibility. They come off at random points and like, basically they're wheels that white people will be more likely to kill you if you're a white boarder, right? But if you do, the wheels won't be fucking held responsible somehow, even if they fall off like purposefully, right? And even after they've killed you, the wheels will go back to your place, find your friends and family, and kill them. Yes, white Ford Bronco wheels. See, now that's what I need. See, there's a gap in the market. Maybe I could get into like, maybe I could design. Maybe I could set up my own little sort of sub. Have a little sub. Money making side gig of just doing the most politically incorrect and completely inappropriate fucking designs on longboards. Do you want Albert Fish? And no problem. Quotes, including picture of Albert Fish, quotes. Do you want Mein Kampf written written in very small writing all about? No problem. That would be fun. Everyone stop talking. Reading Mein Kampf on a okay. It's not Mein Kampf. That's the Nazi computer game. No, actually, it wouldn't. It'd be the only way to make skateboarding boring. Because Oh, you mean Mein Kampf? Yes, Mein Kampf is the most boring book of all time, possibly. I literally, when you ever read a book so terrible that you want to stop, but but you've got to read it because you feel obliged to fucking read it, but even though you don't want to, right? It's basically it's like the Bible, right? But at least the Bible is like it's like this is fucking the Bible isn't as disappointing because you're not really sure what to expect. It's just the Bible's just got too much shit that isn't necessary. Whereas Mein Kampf is just absolutely disappointingly fucking boring and dull. And it shouldn't be, because it led to one of the most horrific acts of human fucking, hideous acts of human, of inhumane treatment of other people. 11 million people died because of this book, and we were plunged into a global war. And what do we get? We get this fucking prick whinging on, boring me senseless. There should be more to it than that. Yeah, but Wuthering Heights didn't lead to the Holocaust. Wuthering Heights is just a book that's, always been a classic, and it might not meet your expectations because it's not, it's more of its time, or it's just not, what you're into. That's fine. It's like, I don't like there's a lot of classic films I've watched that I found boring as hell. Gone with the Wind, I would rather set my fucking head on fire, right, than I'd rather burn off all my body hair with a blowtorch over the course of a couple of days than watch that film again, right? I would happily kill innocent, little cute innocent puppies and kittens with a hammer, on sight for the rest of my life, than watch Gone with the Wind again, because I've honestly, it's fucking shite, But I think that's true of a lot of film. I think a lot of people, when they do those best film ever countdowns voted for by the public, I just don't buy that the people who voted have actually voted what for films they want to fucking watch. They put Citizen Kane. Have you actually watched Citizen Kane? Probably a lot of people haven't. Casablanca, or 2001: Space Odyssey. Just films that people, you watch it, you're told these are great, and you're supposed to just accept it. And some people, I think, feel like they don't want to be the one who says, actually, this is fucking. I would rather watch Weekend at Bernie's 2. Right? I'd rather watch a dodgy Turkish knockoff of Weekend at Bernie's 2. Right? Nobody wants to say Star Wars, quite frankly, and I'm talking about the first 3 films. It's all right, but it's fine, You made 37 minutes. Well, that's 37 more than me because I've never fucking watched it. But all I'm saying is Citizen Kane is actually a film that, even if it's considered a classic, it's meant to be, because it was made well. I think it's more impressive when you get things like The Room and Neil Breen and Birdemic, and they become hugely popular and successful because they're the antithesis of everything you're supposed to make a film, of how you're supposed to make a fucking film and write a script and act. Nothing's done well. What do I think of Lovecraft? Don't give a shit. I know what Lovecraft is. I couldn't give a shit. Never read a single word of it. I'm not a big fiction reader. I'm not even as big a reader, to be honest. I prefer audiobooks these days because I can get through them it means I can get through a book in a day, and I can do something else while I'm listening to it. I can listen to I can listen to a book for over the course of 8-9 hours whilst drawing, or I could even go out for a walk or go on my longboard, or I could just do anything basically. Violently masturbate to barnyard pornography. Go and troll people on Beast Forum. Voiced or monotone? What do you mean monotone? Okay, give me an example. What do you mean voice? Is the opposite of monotone voiced? Because surely even monotone, unless they're using semaphore, unless they're using Morse code. I prefer a book to be read by the person who wrote it, assuming that they want to do it, because then you would imagine. But in some cases, it doesn't matter. I mean, if I was going to listen to The Great Gatsby, you can get The Great Gatsby audiobook read by Tim Robbins for free. Now that sounds more fun than getting it read by whoever the fuck wrote The Great Gatsby, which I don't know the answer to, and I don't care because I couldn't give a shit. I don't care if they do. You know, if it's well, I mean, normally if you've got multiple voices or characters in an audiobook, then it would make sense for there to be multiple people doing it. James O'Brien, in his audiobook of the audio version of his first book, he actually has different people play, which is him sort of talking about issues and talking about it via using each issue is using a different conversation he's had with one of his callers, and he uses different people for each call. Yeah, but anyone could. Yeah, but how do you know it's Stephen Hawking's? To be fair, Stephen Hawking's book could be read by anybody, and I would never understand it. I bought Brief History of Time when I was younger, and the only thing that I got out of it was a very good joke that I put into my stand-up routine that had that I used for about 3-4 years. Which basically it was I put a tire mark down the inside on the first page, and I claimed it was a signed copy of Brief History of Time. That was it. That was the. Other than that, it might as well have been written in Klingon backwards, translated through Google into Chinese, because it meant nothing to me. And it's one of the problems. And I think that's true. The fact that it's one of the biggest selling books of all time says to me, it's like this is the scientific equivalent of the Bible. Most people. Loads of people own it, very few of them have read it, and the ones who have, virtually none of them understand it. Because they've got an IQ that is that is 20% of the IQ of the geezer who fucking wrote it. I mean, Stephen Hawking is literally talking about things that almost everybody else on the planet cannot possibly understand or grasp. So, why not, So he could say anything. Who am I to challenge Stephen Hawking? He could literally say, "Oh yes, at the beginning of the universe, there were 15 baboons sat around, all playing soggy biscuit, and they were listening to this sort of Norwegian death metal umpar music, and the combination of their ejaculate on this McVitie's digestive, created this reaction, which then led to the. I don't fucking know, do I? I would rather have Stephen Hawking read by someone with a very thick regional accent, like someone with a West Country accent, or a drunk Glaswegian, Billy Connolly reading Brief History of Time, like, hello, so in the beginning of the universe, right, it's a singularity, and then there's this fucking big explosion, and the fucking thing just starts expanding and gets going on, and it's just for billions and billions of fucking bastard years, and everything and the fucking universe can be crammed into one ad. It's fucking amazing, that would be fun, Or someone like Doug Stanhope reading it whilst drunk, Or Ross Noble, or Patrick Moore himself was an absolute prick. I mean, he was a little misogynistic, conservative worm. But it's very good. Yeah, very good. And again, he was just weird. He had that sort of eccentric Englishman, that sort of posh English nutter quality about him that people endear to. See you, Hudson. Happy New Year to you too, sir. Best of luck. When you said Dogs and Hope, I assume you meant Doug Stanhope. The problem is, right, Dan, is that your fucking spelling and grammar is so atrocious that, for all I know, you meant to write Dogs and Hope. And I wouldn't say that I completely disagree with you. Doug Stanhope is incredible, and if he's like, I would say him and Stuart Lee are the two best living comedians on the planet. and especially for my money, when you think how prolific and how long stand-up's been going, and he's never, for me, he's like stuff. It's never dipped. It's never got to, it's never got old. And he's never sort of stopped being consistent in terms of quality. But well, I mean, voice to text now is a lot better, which I find useful, obviously, because I don't, typing is not as, typing is something I find, and he probably did do. I mean, no, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel. Hey, listen, Jimmy Kimmel had fucking Slipknot perform on his show, and there was a fucking mosh pit on Jimmy. So I won't hear about, Jimmy Kimmel, as far as I'm concerned, he's fucking, he's all right with me. Anyone, anyone who like, is any other Slipknot fan is a friend of mine. Well, I started writing a book. It was, for an audio book, which is, last year, and for reasons and excuses that I'm not going to bore you with, I sort of, I sort of didn't add to it for a long time, and I really need to pick that up. But the book, but it's called Certified YouTuber, and it's basically my 12 years. It's basically me writing about everything that's happened in my time on YouTube. Which I realise some people might say, well, why the fucking hell is that interesting? And to them I say, I don't know. But I know that I found it interesting. And I personally think there is some sort of, there could be some interest in a book about being on YouTube written by someone who no cunt's heard of. Everyone's heard of Jake Paul and PewDiePie and, and all these other, KSI. No cunt's heard of me, And when I think that's more interesting to say, like, this is a geezer who no one's heard of, who you've never heard of, who has barely fucking registered, who is a blip, who is a fucking piece of, he's whatever plankton eats on the food chain of YouTube, and yet this is what's happened to him, Yeah. Oh, the Captain Awesome, the epic, that is one of those moments where you're like, when you think the geezers who invented the internet, this is one of the things I would love to show the geezers responsible for creating and conceiving the internet. That's one of the, if I had to make a list of 50 things, I would like to go back and show these blokes, saying this is what is going to happen as a result of you creating this, right? Just so you know, right? Number one, here is a guy who fucked someone else's missus, uploaded it to another website, and then decided to use it as an ownage video on YouTube, right? Did I once feud with? Yes, yes, very much so. To say TJ and I have, to be fair, in this year, whilst I will never whilst I don't intend to ever, be associated or buddies with TJ, in the last year, when TJ has seemingly been expressing more sort of very left wing, points of view, but it is still TJ, so don't get carried away. It could just be, it could very well likely be every other opinion he's ever had. It's just good marketing. He's getting ahead of the curve. But to me, it's like, this is the thing. There comes a point where whatever the fucking interaction you've had with anyone on here, there comes a point when you're like, you know what, I don't care anymore. It's like with Fake Sagan. Honestly, if I'm not gonna make it. I don't feel anything. I don't feel any bad